Thank you very much, Anna. Lovely to be here. I'm really excited about what I'm going to present to you today. AI and what's happening is really interesting, and it's actually what I do. I'm an educational technologist. I'm very, very lucky. I'm very well connected. I even get the chance to help some of these pieces of software to be developed. The things I'm going to show you today, I promise you, they're really easy. Really easy. A lot of AI is easy because that's the reason why it's there. It's to try to make our jobs easier. They're totally relevant to the work that we do. And what I've done is I'm going to actually, you're going to see some videos with me showing you these technologies in action. I'm going to try and do two things today. First of all, I'm going to show you the 4 most popular AI technologies, or just technologies, on my website, okay? So these are the ones that when I've been making the videos on YouTube, and as Anna said, I have about 77,000 followers, subscribers, and on the channel, these are the ones where people just come back to me and said, Russell, wow, that is amazing. Okay, so we're going to choose the best 4, and then depending a little bit on how time goes, I'm going to show you some examples of how I might use these technologies, okay? One thing to say, and this is interesting, I'm going to do a little test with you just before we start with the first technology. Can you put your hands up if you know what ChatGPT is? Okay, hands down. Right, another little test. Can you put your hands up if you know what Zengengo is? Yeah, okay. So Zengengo is an AI tool that's been around for ages. I fell in love with it when I saw it 3-4 years ago. What's really happened is AI has always been here. You've already been using it. But what happened is that ChatGPT kind of opened our eyes to the opportunities that AI can offer. So we're going to try and go through 4 tools. I'm promising you these are super easy. They're easy peasy lemon squeezy. They're really relevant. They've all got a free option, and I'm genuinely using these tools in my own learning. I'm currently learning Polish. We'll start with this first one, twee.com. Now, twee.com is incredible. Okay, by the way, just something really important. There's a special handout at the end with all the videos that I've made today. So you can get the handout and you'll be able to watch me showing you how to use all these technologies, okay? So there's help videos for everything I'm going to show you in the handout at the end. twee.com is probably one of the most useful and simple technologies because you can go on there, you can choose, right, I need a discussion questions about healthy eating. Click a button, it will produce them. I need a text on how to learn English. I need it at level A2. I need to use this vocabulary. Bang, press the button. It will produce it. Oh, can we now add some true or false questions to go along with that text? Bang, it will produce it. Oh, now I fancy having an ABC, a multiple choice question. Bang, it will produce it. Okay? And it will do this, and it will put it all in a lovely format for you as well. So twee.com, probably the most broad and complete tool for English teachers, and there's a free option. Let's start with twee.com. This is probably one of the most comprehensive and complete AI tools for English teachers that you will find on the internet at the moment. And the great news is there is a free option. So if you click at the prices, you'll notice that you can try it for free and you can use it for up to 20 runs a month for the text tool and 10 runs for the media tools. It's actually quite generous. Now I'm going to show you the free tool, and what you're going to be amazed at if we click on the tools is just how many different things you can use this for. So these technologies, for example, allow you to paste in the link to a YouTube video and it will extract
the actual text, the actual script of that particular video. You can then use that script. It will generate questions for you. It will choose the correct answer type of activity. It will even produce questions for you that you can use before or after the students have listened to the video. So you can produce content around a video very, very quickly. Another example, and we'll do this one, is that it will generate a text for you, but you can choose the topic, you can choose the type of text, and you can even choose the level. So if I clicked on here and I said, let's do describing autumn in the UK, okay, and I'm going to have this as a descriptive text, okay, so we'll do this one here, and then I'm going to choose the level, and I'm going to make it very basic, so we'll just do 100 to 250 words, level A2, and I can even put in some of the vocabulary that I might want the students to include. So I've added 4 words here that I want to include in that text. Now once I've done that, I just click on do the magic, and that text will be written for me. Now if you feel that the text is too difficult, the obvious thing that you can do is click on this button here and shorten it, and then it will make the text slightly shorter. So if you're really working with low-level students, you've got that option. Of course, you could have chosen to only use 100 words, or you could have chosen including just to use level A1. But also notice that another thing you can do is edit the text. So if you want to come in and reduce or change any of that text, it's very easy to edit. Just make any changes and then click on Save. Now this is where TWE becomes so interesting, because what you can do now is build up the text and do lots of activities around it, and then you print it out as a PDF. So let me show you what I mean. Let's say, for example, I want to create some discussion questions around autumn. So I click here. We'll leave all of this the same. Okay, we click on do the magic, and now it generates some questions for me. Now of course I don't have to use all those questions, I can edit them. But let's say now what I want to do is I want to produce a dialogue around autumn, based on autumn. So I click here, again I'll use the same settings, I click on do the magic, and now it's produced a dialogue for me which I could cut up and get my students to order, etc. Okay, and I could build up this whole activity. Could be for homework, it could be as part of a lesson. Once I've finished, I can come over here, I can include the answers or not include the answers, and I can click on Save as PDF, and that will actually be saved as a PDF file. And if I click now on that file so that we can open it and actually look at it, there it is. We've got a story on autumn, we've got some discussion questions, we've got a dialogue that we can use, and of course we can choose to have the answers or not have the answers as well. On this particular one, there isn't really any answers to give because these are just discussion questions, but it will obviously provide the answers if you set, for example, gap fill activities or grammar activities, etc. If you need to prepare students for exams, there's always ABC questions, true or false, open questions, all sorts of things like this. Leading activities for a text. These can be, again, really quick ideas. Create a dialogue on any topic. Loads and loads of things. I kind of like this one, and I'll quickly show you it. Let's just click here. This is for quick things that you might need, like ads and headlines and instructions and invitations and price lists. So let's click here, for example, and say I want to quickly produce a price list for a Chinese restaurant. Okay, so let's imagine I'm planning on doing a dialogue. Again, I can put in the specific words, or I don't have to. I just click on do the magic and it will produce it even with the prices, and I can then use that in some kind of dialogue activity, or even, for example, after that we've done that, we could actually use this for a gap fill, for true or false statements. Let's click on this one, and it's now going to generate true or false statements about the prices and the different things that you can buy. Absolutely fantastic. This is done for me so quickly. Now, always it's worth checking through. My experience is it's superb with writing text, doing questions, doing these types of things. Occasionally with the grammar exercises, you just got to be a little bit careful and check. However, I have noticed that it's getting better and better. So early on, I did notice occasionally a mistake between I have eaten and I have, as in it confused when it was using present perfect and when it was just the verb possessive, I have. But I have to say, very rarely have I come across a mistake. And when it comes to writing texts, etc., and these types of things, it really is very good.
Okay, that's the simplest tool I'm going to show you today. But I think that could really help you. The discussion questions, the text that it produces, the multiple choice, the gap fill activity, really, really good. You can build that into a lesson plan that you're using it in a class, or you could set it up for students for homework. Remember, it's free, so you can choose to use the free option. And remember, I've got a video at the end that if you're interested in learning about TWE.com, I take you through it in more detail than I showed you there. Obviously, I'm a bit limited today. There's about 30 exercise types that you can do. This next tool is my favorite. So I'm learning Polish, and one thing I really love to do is to read and listen at the same time, which you can obviously do with the technology that we just saw Anna present. I love the idea when I'm learning Polish that I take Polish text and I can read it and listen. Now, my problem, of course, is I need a Polish voice. And natural readers, when I first come across this technology, I just couldn't believe it, how good it is. This technology allows you, not only in English, but in Spanish, in French, in Portuguese, in Russian, in many, many languages, to take a text, paste it in, click on the button, and it will read that text in a native-like voice. And I mean, it's superb. And in English, it's particularly interesting because you've got English, American English, Australian English, and even Welsh English. I use this tool every day. Thank God it's got Polish. So I can use this to read a text that I want to listen to, read it and listen at the same time. I can put a list of words in and hear the pronunciation of the words. Again, I can't believe how generous the free tool is. You don't even need to sign up.
For me personally, Natural Readers is perhaps at the moment my favourite AI technology, and I really do use this every day. I study French, Spanish and Polish, and I'm always using this tool so that I can listen to any texts that I want to read. I'm a real fan of reading and listening at the same time. This technology offers a very generous free option. You don't even need to sign in, and you can use up to 4,000 characters a day. All you need to do is choose the language, and there are many languages, and luckily in English you have many different accents. Paste in the text, click on the button, and it will be read out in a native-like voice. And I have to say, the voices are superb. So let's grab some text from my website, and don't forget to come over and see teachertrainingvideos.com because all the videos are free. I show you lots of different technologies that you can use. I'm going to copy this little bit of text here, okay? Come back, I'm going to paste it in. And now what I'm going to do is click here, and I'll choose, at the moment we've got English, Australian, but I'll choose an English accent for this one. So I'm going to click on UK. We'll use Sonia. And let's see on listen to Sonia read out the text. Now I've set it so that anything in brackets isn't read out, but you can change that. So let's just listen and see what Sonia's got to say.
Teacher Training Videos was founded in 2007. The website offers free step-by-step videos to help teachers incorporate technology into their teaching and learning.
Okay, that's an excellent accent. Now, if I wanted to use a different accent, I could
Teacher training videos was
just jump back a minute and just click here, choose a different accent. For example, let's try an American English, and we'll work with Davies or Davies. And now I'm going to click on Davies. We can even control the speed if we want to make it a little bit slower, a little bit faster. It's also possible to do that, okay? It doesn't work very well if you massively change it, but you can change the speed of the delivery.
Teacher Training Videos was founded in 2007. The website offers free step-by-step videos to help teachers incorporate.
I love the way that we have here at the bottom the mark. It marks out what word is being read out. For me in language learning, this is so useful. Now, how would I use this in class? Well, one of the things is a great opportunity to get students to listen to lots of different English accents by copying text, pasting it in, and the students can listen to it. Of course, students can use this technology as well. Perfect for homework, perfect if they like reading and listening at the same time, which is my favorite way of learning a language. Now, I love using this technology as well just to hear the pronunciation of individual words. I do prefer to learn words in sentences, but occasionally I do need to clarify, particularly in Polish, the pronunciation and the stress on a word. And so what I can do is just write the words into natural readers. Again, we can choose a different accent, so we can click here and say we might want to listen to Australian English. We'll choose William, click away, click on the button, and these words will be read out and we can work out where the stress is and obviously repeat the words and practice the pronunciation.
Accommodation, companion, experiment, photograph, photographer, compassion, irrelevant.
Absolutely brilliant. And you could very useful idea here is actually to slow down a little bit the speed if you want to really listen to the words carefully. As I said, don't reduce it too much, but if I click now, you'll hear the words a little bit more slowly read out.
Accommodation, companion.
This is so useful.
Okay, that's a tool that I absolutely love. I just can't do without that tool. I'm using it all the time in Polish. It's so useful. Naturalreaders.com. I'll tell you a funny thing about Natural Readers as well. My wife, we live in Poland now, but we met in England. She always struggled with Indian English. Okay, she said, I really struggle, and often when we make telephone calls to the bank and that, we get people answering from India, and she struggles with the accent. And I've said to her, this is fabulous, because she could listen to examples of English being read out with an Indian accent. Okay, and it is a tough accent to work with. Obviously, being from London, I'm very used to it, but for Ivona, it's quite difficult. I've tried another experiment with this the other day as well, which is really interesting. We have to remember, English is a lingua franca. So often when you're speaking to someone, you're speaking to a French person or a Spanish person in English, okay? It's the international language of communication. You can use natural readers in that way. If you pasted in a text in English and chose a Spanish person, you're going to get the person reading out the English but with a Spanish accent, okay? So it really is a tool that I would suggest you try. It's my favorite one, and it's something that I'm literally using every day because I'm a big fan of listening and reading at the same time. So that's Natural Readers. Okay. ChatGPT. Let me show you this first, and then we'll talk about it afterwards, okay? I'm just going to explain to you one thing. Remember, I'm kind of lucky. I get a lot of information. I'm connected to a few of these companies, and I'm very aware that really the way people are using ChatGPT and what you really could do, there's a bit of a gap going on at the moment. And I'm going to show you a completely different level of what you can do with ChatGPT. Let me just play the video and we'll talk about it after. I think you might be in for a surprise now.
Very few people realize this about ChatGPT. You can add a little app, and I've got it here, that allows you just to talk to ChatGPT, and it completely changes the way that you can work with this technology. Now, I'm only using the free tool. I'm just going to show you a couple of examples. Just going to turn on the audio. I just click here and talk to ChatGPT, and then when I've finished, I click on the spacebar. ChatGPT, I want to practice speaking English, but I want to practice Shakespearean English. So can you pretend that you're Shakespeare and reply to my questions as if you were Shakespeare in Shakespearean English? Is that okay?
Indeed, fair interlocutor, thou hast my humble acquiescence. Pray, pose thy inquiries, and I shall endeavour to respond in the manner befitting the eloquence of Shakespearean discourse.
I've heard a rumour that you're thinking of building a theatre in London. Is that true?
Marry, such whispers do reach mine ears, and the winds of rumour do carry tidings of a theatre in London. Verily, the stage, a realm where players in motley garb weave tales in the tapestry of performance, may find its dwelling in this fair city. Yet, I, mere wordsmith of the digital realm, am but a humble creation, and such decisions lie beyond the scope of my dominion.
There's more, okay? Don't worry. I just want to talk about this, okay? It's in the video, at the handout that I'm going to give you at the end. I promise you, this takes 1 second to do. You just go to Google, you write, add voice to ChatGPT. It will come up on the top, click on add, and when you open up ChatGPT, it will be there. Now, you don't have to speak in English to ChatGPT. ChatGPT speaks lots of languages. So I'm often using this to practice my French, to practice my Spanish. Okay, it will do that, but it's more interesting, so it can be used for speaking. I'm just kind of having a bit of fun here, all right? We can use it for speaking practice. You can do all sorts of things, okay? You're going to see in a minute. But the thing is, once you've got your voice, suddenly all that stuff about prompts, about, oh, you've got to learn these prompts. And it is true. There are, if you write, you've got to write the certain thing to ChatGPT to make it do something. But when you can speak to ChatGPT, that all goes away. You can start really being creative and getting ChatGPT to do all sorts of things for you, okay? And you're going to see some more examples now. This next one, I'm doing this next one in English. I'm actually doing this in Polish quite a lot. I give the instructions to ChatGPT in English because my Polish isn't good enough to give the instructions in Polish. But I say to ChatGPT, I want you to write me, let's take the theme of autumn. I want you to write me a story about autumn in Poland. I want you to write 4 or 5 sentences, stop, and then offer me 3 options, A, B, or C. I'm going to choose which one, and then you continue the story. Now, this is brilliant for me, because when I'm studying on my own at home, I'm not just passively reading the story, I'm actually interacting with the story. And when I tell ChatGPT to do this, ChatGPT even gets excited. Yeah, it's like, wow, this is a great idea. Let's do this together, yeah? It always freaks me out when I come up with these ideas. So let me just show you this in action. I've done this one in English, but obviously I'm doing this really in Spanish or in French, but mainly in Polish. That's the language that I'm focusing on at the moment.
I want to do an interactive story with you where you write the first 3 or 4 sentences of the story, and then you offer me 3 options, A, B, or C. I will then choose which one to use, and then based on which choice I make, you will continue the story. Can we make the theme about autumn, and can we keep the level very low because my English isn't very good? Is that clear?
Absolutely. That sounds like a fun idea. Let's get started. The air was crisp, and the leaves painted the town in warm hues of red and gold. Emily, a young girl with a curious spirit, wandered through the park, kicking up the fallen leaves with each step. As she strolled along the winding path, she noticed a mysterious-looking door tucked away under the ancient oak tree. A soft glow emanated from the edges, beckoning her closer.
ChatGPT, that's absolutely brilliant, but can you make the level easier because my English isn't so good?
Of course. Let's simplify it a bit. Emily was walking in the park. The air was cool, and the leaves on the trees were orange and brown. She saw a strange door under a big tree. It had a soft light coming out. Options. A. Emily opens the door to see what's inside. B. Emily looks at the door but doesn't open it. C. Emily decides to walk away from the door. As Emily opened the door, a warm light enveloped her. To her surprise, she stepped into a magical forest filled with talking animals. A wise owl perched on a branch greeted her. Options. A.
ChatGPT, I want to practice. Okay, one thing you might notice about ChatGPT, and I just heard a comment, and it's so true. ChatGPT really loves to show off. It's really verbose. You have to keep reminding it. But if you remind it a few times, and I have this problem in Polish as well, I keep saying, it's too difficult, it's too difficult. But slowly, ChatGPT realizes how bad my Polish is, and it does get there. But often when I do that type of activity, I do have to tell it a couple of times, ChatGPT, can you make this a little bit easier for me, okay? So it's just something about ChatGPT and the way it works. Now that's actually to do, sorry. No. It's actually just to do with the memory. Okay, so I don't know if you keep hearing that they're saying, the memory's got bigger and bigger and bigger. So one of the things that ChatGPT did at the beginning was that I'd say to it, right, I want to do an interview of you, and I want you to pretend you're Boris Johnson. And it would start the interview, okay? And then I'd ask it a question, and it would forget that it's Boris Johnson, and it would start answering the question in a different way. Whereas now the memory's much better. Okay, so it remembers what you've said, but sometimes you just need to remind it a few times when you're having a discussion with it. Okay, but it is really powerful. I mean, there's two things here. We can use ChatGPT for language learning. I mean, I'm going to show you an app in a minute that's going to do that as well. Anyway, but we can even say to ChatGPT when we're doing this, can you correct my English? I could have even done that as well. What I want you to do is just to realize you've got to experiment with this thing. You've got to sit down in a room on your own, get that voice app, and just say, well, the sky's the limit. What can I do? Because it's just incredible. And then some of these things you might be able to pass on to your students. You're going to see a few more examples in a minute. It really is, you can really stretch it. You can really get it to do a job interview, or say to ChatGPT, I want to practice lawyer speak. Let's have a conversation. I want you to reply to me as a lawyer, or as an accountant, or as an economist, or as a politician. You can do an incredible number of things. Once you've got the voice app, it's just so much easier. I'm going to show you one more example. ChatGPT, I want to practice an interview situation. I'd like you to ask me some questions, and I'm going to answer the questions, so that it's literally a conversation between you and I. You're going to be the interviewer, I'm going to be the interviewee, and let's imagine that I'm applying for a job as an English teacher. So I want this to be an interactive discussion where you ask me questions, I reply, you listen to my answers, and then you decide the next question. Is that clear?
Absolutely. That sounds like a great way to practice. Let's get started. Interviewer, thank you for joining us today. To begin, can you tell me about your background and what sparked your interest in becoming an English teacher?
Well, my first job was actually in Greece. I taught as an English teacher in Greece, and I really enjoyed it. It wasn't really my intention at that point to make it my career, but I ended up enjoying it so much that I decided to do some further studies and develop my
teaching skills, and I did the Delta examination in English language teaching.
That's interesting to hear about your journey into teaching English. It sounds like your initial experience in Greece was pivotal in steering you towards this career. Now, with the Delta examination, you've taken steps to enhance your teaching skills. Can you share a specific challenge you faced during your teaching experience in Greece and how you overcame it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the hardest problem for me when I was in Greece was that I didn't speak Greek. And to be an effective language teacher, I do believe it's really helpful if you speak the language of the people that you're teaching. I did manage to get to a fairly good level of Greek, though that was 25 years ago and I've forgotten quite a lot of it. But yeah, learning the Greek language was a real challenge.
I'll come back to ChatGPT in a minute. I'm going to show you a couple of practical ideas, okay? So if you're going to work with ChatGPT and you want it to do, I mean, you know, think about it in terms of your own language learning as well. I mean, I used to be a Spanish teacher. I needed to keep my Spanish going. And, you know, wow, if these tools had been around when I was teaching Spanish, which was 20 odd years ago, then that would have been really useful for me just in terms of supporting my own language learning. I know many people like to come to these conferences because it's a great chance to obviously hear people presenting in English and to get exposure to the language. And now you've got the opportunity if you download that app. I want to make it clear, I'm using the free tool and that app is free. Okay, so it's only ChatGPT 3.5 that I'm using. The key thing to remember, guys, is to give ChatGPT as much context as possible. When you explain to ChatGPT what you want, be really clear about what you want it to do. Make sure you give it loads of information, and I promise you it will produce for you what you need. And you won't need to worry about the prompts. And your English doesn't have to be perfect. I even made a mistake there when I was speaking, and I noticed ChatGPT wrote the right word on because I said forgot instead of forgotten. And it can deal with that. When I speak it to it in Spanish, and my Spanish isn't perfect, it can deal with it, okay? And I've tried in French. I haven't dared to try in Polish yet, because my Polish is just not good enough to chat to ChatGPT yet, but that's definitely my plan. Okay, I thought I'd show you this one. As I said to you, this is actually, I've never presented this, so this is going to be really interesting. And this is, I guess, where a lot of you are thinking, oh, it's going to go. That is, there's going to be an app that's going to allow us just to speak. A bit like ChatGPT, but this one is specifically a speaking app. And this is so new, guys, that you can use it totally for free. All right? And if you happen to speak any of the languages that it's so far introduced, which is Spanish and French and German, I think, and Italian so far, I think, and English, of course. But it's been adding languages, okay? Now, this isn't quite the miracle bot that you will be imagining, which I'm afraid will be coming. Okay, that is that there'll be a character in front of you. And already if you have an Apple device, there is actually already one on Apple that does work with a character. But this really is a tool that allows you to practice speaking. And not only that, it gives you feedback. And my Spanish is pretty good. It used to be a lot better, as I said, but it's interesting the feedback it gave me because it was really useful. I did this last night in the hotel room. I'm going to just show you. I'm really using this tool now.
Okay, this app is completely free at the moment, so we're going to try it out and we'll practice another language. So let's go with Spanish. So we'll pick up here. I've already tested this tool, so I'm just going to click here and go with Spanish and Alejandro. And we're already in a conversation, so I'm just going to click on this button here and continue the conversation. Alejandro, ¿cómo estás hoy? ¿Qué has hecho? Just send that to Alejandro and hopefully he's going to reply to me.
Hola Russell. Estoy muy bien, gracias por preguntar. Hoy he estado explorando un poco más de la hermosa ciudad de Sevilla. He visitado la catedral y me he maravillado con su arquitectura impresionante. ¿Y tú, qué has estado haciendo últimamente? ¿Algún plan emocionante en mente?
Bueno, de verdad que estoy en Serbia, estoy en Belgrado, estoy aquí para 3 días.
Oh, vaya. Belgrado, qué emocionante. ¿Cómo estás disfrutando de tu estancia allí? ¿Has tenido la oportunidad de explorar la ciudad y conocer su historia y cultura? Estoy seguro de que hay muchos lugares fascinantes que descubrir. Cuéntame más sobre tu experiencia en Belgrado.
Notice also that it's giving me feedback, okay? De verdad que estoy en Serbia. It would be easier to say, en realidad estoy en... Okay, de verdad que estoy... Okay, interesting. Right, let's just carry on a little bit more, yeah? Bueno, de verdad es que el problema es que estoy aquí trabajando, entonces no tengo mucho tiempo para visitar la ciudad.
Oh, entiendo. Aunque estés trabajando, espero que puedas encontrar un huequito para disfrutar de los encantos de Belgrado. Tal vez puedas aprovechar el tiempo libre para dar un paseo por el centro histórico o probar alguna deliciosa comida local. Si necesitas alguna recomendación, no dudes en preguntarme.
Now,
Not bad, eh? That feedback for me, I have to remember that because, yeah, that was useful. So these tools will be coming along, and I guess that brings up a bit of a question that I just want to spend a couple of seconds talking about before we look at some practical applications of these technologies. So will AI replace the teacher? I honestly don't think so. I honestly think that where these technologies are going to be useful is they are going to help us to prepare. I think tweed.com is very useful for preparing lessons. It's going to help you a lot. When you go on there and you see how many things you can do with it, I think you'll find that really useful. What I think we've got to understand about language learning is that really, ultimately, language learning takes place outside of the class. Okay? That is where we're going to empower our students. I can speak pretty good Spanish. I can speak pretty good French. I'm now learning Polish. I have 3 Polish lessons a week. And I'm using these technologies all the time. But it's not the time in the studying on my own. That's where AI is empowering me. It's giving me this opportunity to do many things that I could never have done. The way I'm learning Polish at the moment has got nothing to do with the way that I learned Spanish. It's just amazing what I can do. But it doesn't mean to say that I don't want to have a lesson with my teacher. It's not changed anything. I'm still having 3 lessons a week with my teacher. I think that we've still got a massive role to play. The only thing I would say that we've got to change is that maybe we've got to think more about how we support our students so they can be more effective outside the class. I've never been a fan of technology in the class. Every time I watch a lesson with technology in the lesson, I always find it kind of stutters the lesson, it slows it down. If you're a good teacher and you deliver a lesson and you get your students working in pairs and you get your students working in groups and doing lots of activities, I think there's nothing better than that. When I first started studying Polish, I went to Krakow and I went in and I had this teacher. He was just brilliant. This was just pre-COVID, so we're talking about 4 years ago, something like that. I went to Poland, I did this course. He never used any technology in the class apart from YouTube videos, which I did find really helpful. That was the only thing that we did to contextualize a lot of the language. But we were doing loads and loads of activities in pairs, with cards, running around the class. I loved it. And I personally still think that you can't be a well-trained teacher that doesn't engage in lesson. And I personally don't think that technology has to play a big role in the class. However, in that same course, the book that we used, which was Krok po kroku in Polish, it was a book step by step, the book had a platform, and the teacher was always setting us homework to do on that platform. So yeah, we were using technology outside of the class. And I was able to watch videos and do extra exercises and go back over the listings. I found that really useful. So much so that I decided in the end to pay to use that application after the course. And I think that is maybe where we do need to change a bit. in what we do to help our students understand what they can do to learn a language, because it's out there. But we've still got a massive role to play in the classroom, in my opinion. And that teacher was one of my favorite teachers of all time. As I said, nothing more than YouTube actually in the lessons. Technology for me has got a place outside of the class. I'm going to show you a few ideas. I've got enough time just to show you some examples of sorts of things that we've been playing around with. I'm quite lucky. I have obviously this big following on YouTube and subscribe to my newsletter. And I have a little group of teachers that we get together online, and I talk about these technologies and I show them the technology, and they go out and test them for me and come back and tell me if things worked or not. And I'm going to take you through a few ideas. And what I'm really suggesting, because I'm still a big fan of the book, I still like using my course book. I still have a course book when I'm studying Polish. But I do use technology to build around it a bit, particularly, as I said, for the types of activities that I'm going to do with my students at home. So often when I'm thinking about the use of technology, there's, I guess, two places where I might introduce it. The most obvious place is for the homework, the extension work that I'm going to get my students to do. That's the most obvious place. Sometimes I might look at the book and think to myself, I think I can find a more interesting way of introducing this topic. And I sometimes, particularly through videos and things like that, I might use a bit of technology to start the lesson. But predominantly, I'm still a fan of the book, and I certainly use a book when I'm studying Polish. And what I'm going to do is just show you a couple of ideas, particularly with the extension. Remember, I'm always thinking as a teacher, and I have to confess I'm not teaching anymore, but when I was a teacher, and when I'm thinking about the use of technology, I'm always thinking about how I could extend the activities. I'm just going to, a couple of simple things that we've done, and they worked. And I've got one more, if we got time, one more super duper technology to throw in right at the end as well, okay, that you're going to see in action. So let's just now see the application of a couple of those technologies, okay?
Now, this is actually an idea that I've already tested. I'm going to work with Project Explorer. Project Explorer is great for this because we have this unit here on the city and the country. It's a nice theme. The unit works really well, but what I can see, particularly with this kind of piece here, is that we've got a great opportunity to turn this into a task where the students would record a podcast where they're talking about whether they prefer to live in the city or the country. Now, this would be a podcast with a difference because they would write the podcast and then they would go over to naturalreaders.com, paste in their text or write in their text, choose the voice, and then they could play that to the rest of the class, or perhaps it could be done in groups. Perhaps the teacher would select the best ones. But I really like these task type activities, and I think this would really introduce a nice novelty, and particularly also because the students could choose the voice. So let me just show you an example. So for example, if we come over to ChatGPT here, all the students would need to do, and they really don't even need to log in, which is fantastic. They just literally click on start for free, and then they would click here. They would choose a voice. Let's say, for example, that we're going to do, let's do a Welsh English accent. And then we can click here. Obviously, they would write their text perhaps in Word or just write it straight into the screen. That would work fine. And then they would have the opportunity to listen to their writing, and it would turn into a podcast.
I prefer living in the country. I like the fresh air. I like the calmness. I like the connection with nature.
Very, very simple idea, but what I like about it is that it kind of creates a task for the students to do at the end. And in fact, you could even start the lesson saying, right, we're going to work through this unit with the idea at the end that we're going to do this podcast. I think there's a...
That was an idea that just a couple of my teachers tried out. They said it were absolutely brilliant. Just a kind of idea that, because it's got a writing component and then the audio component, the students really like the fact that they get to choose the voice, and there are loads of voices, and it's free technology. And then if I remember rightly, the teachers did different things. One of them, they put the students into groups and just they simply listened to each other's, and then each group chose the best one in their group, okay, to play to the rest of the class. And I think the other teacher, what she did, because I think she was limited on time, she just chose the best text and then pasted it, or got the student to come up and choose the voice that they wanted to use. But the other thing about doing that, and this is something really interesting, is that, see, if you're going to get your students to use natural readers for homework, a technology that they might want to use themselves in their own learning, remember it's free and they don't even need to sign in, then it's a really good idea if you can kind of introduce it into the lesson. As I said, particularly as the part of the homework could work really well. They could do, you've worked through a unit, you've talked about living in the city, living in the country. The homework is to prepare a podcast or prepare the text, which you're then going to turn into a podcast, okay? So that's just a simple sort of idea of using the technologies to make a sort of more task-based lesson. Very simple, but I'm building around the book and using it really as the kind of extension activity. I'm going to show you another one now. This is a real eye-opener, because you might not have thought of this. And it's using ChatGPT, and it will just show you again the power of using your voice when working with ChatGPT, because to prompt this is quite tricky. We've done this a lot, and I'm going to talk about it in a bit more detail in a moment.
Saying, right, we're going to work through this unit with the idea at the end that we're going to do this podcast. I think there's a really nice opportunity here with this idea of food and drink. And again, what I'm really thinking of is an activity that I might do either at the beginning or I think more at the end. I'm just going to show you a really simple idea based around working with food and drink and healthy eating that I think would work really well. So I've just jumped over to ChatGPT. ChatGPT, can you write me 2 stories at level A2 in English? So very simple level, just A2 level in English. I want 2 different explanations of how people keep healthy. Student A and student B are very similar, and they eat very similar diets and do very similar types of activities. However, there are 5 key differences in either the activities they do to keep healthy or the foods that they eat to keep healthy. The idea I want is that student A is going to read part A, student B is going to read part B, and then the 2 students are going to share their ideas and find out the 5 differences between them. Is that clear?
Certainly. Here are 2 short stories at an A2 level for your activity. Story 1. Student A's healthy habits. Once upon a time, there was a student named Alex. Alex loved staying healthy and full of energy.
This type of activity can work really well. We've done many of these types of activities. Now I'm just going to give you one little hint if you do this. So we've got 2 different stories, but what ChatGPT would have done is they would have made 5 differences between story A and story B. Now, one little tip is tell ChatGPT to tell you what the 5 differences are. ChatGPT, can you tell me what the 5 differences are between story A and story B?
That's just because I'm lazy. All right, so just make sure that I know that
this works really well. One thing that we do is we put the students read, one group of students becomes group A and they read one story, and I get them to practice first reading their story and telling it in their own group, and group B do the same. They read their story and practice telling their story, and then I pair the A and B students together. Now this would work really well because it would give a chance for this language to be processed.
Okay, the first time I did that, right, was on Zoom. I got ChatGPT to write me 2 stories. It was an accident. I got it to be an eyewitness of an accident, but I wanted 5 different details. I put Group A in one breakout room and Group B in another breakout room, okay? And then they had to read their story and practice it in their group so that they knew how to tell the story well. Okay, so they practiced telling their story first. So Group A had one story, Group B had another. Then I paired them up and said, right, now read the 2, tell your story and find the 5 differences between your 2 stories. Now, this is an idea that's been around for years. So that those of you that have worked with, perhaps remember books by Peter Watkin Jones and Jill Hatfield, Charlie Hatfield. They were all doing these kind of activities. But it's super quick. ChatGPT can produce that for you in just seconds, and you can use that in class. And that could extend your lesson. You've worked through a chapter on health and eating and healthy habits, and now you want your students to do a speaking practice activity. Okay? So that's the sort of thing that we're looking at, these ways to really extend the lesson beyond the course book, yeah, and make use of these AI tools. I've got one more for you. I saved, for me, the biggest wow one for me. I love this next one I'm going to show you. Let me just, I'm aware that I've got 10 minutes left, yeah, so. Right, let me just set the scene for this one, okay? And again, this is in the handout, okay? This technology is free. You can write in a description and click on the button and it will produce a 3D image based on your description. So let's say that you've done a unit of the course on the city, let's say, yeah, living or life on the beach. Okay, or Thailand or something like that. And you now want the students to write a description so they can work in groups, they can think of the vocabulary, they can write the description, and then they can paste it into this technology, click on the button, and it will produce the image. Now, when we did some tests with students, one thing that we hadn't thought of, which was really clever afterwards, if you've got a group of students who produced a picture, and you'll see in a minute, the pictures are amazing. Afterwards, a really lovely activity to do is that you pair the students, and student A can ask student B, did you ask for blah, blah, blah? Did you ask for blah, blah, blah? And student A can tell them what they included in the description. Okay? Let me repeat this. This technology, you write a description, you paste it in, you click on a button, and it will produce a 3D image of that. So if you get one student to produce an image, then afterwards the other students can ask the question, did you ask for mountains? Did you ask for a white village? Did you ask for lots of flowers? Did you ask for the village to be very quiet? Did you, etc. So you can do a nice activity like that, and you could easily do that in class, where you've written the description and produced the image, and then the students can ask you questions to find out how you got that image produced. Again, it's a free technology. The only one with this problem with this one, if you sign up, you get 15 images a month, okay, for free. But it is super duper. Let me just click on it.
So what happens is you write a description, and I've literally written my description here just in a Word file. I'm going to copy that, and obviously the language input from the students would come in terms of them producing the description, but also it would come when they describe their picture to the rest of the class. So let me quickly read out what I've written. Draw a scene of a village in Andalusia up in the mountains. There is a castle in the background and other villages could be seen far away in the mountains. It is a white village with flower pots outside people's houses. A church in the village and a town square with a few people walking about. In the town square there is a clock. So I copy that, and then I'm going to come over to the technology, and now I'm going to paste that text in. Notice that you are actually allowed up to 400 words. So I've only 420 characters. I've only used 327. So you could write something longer. And now I'm going to click on Generate. It's going to take a few seconds. And there is my village. And you can even kind of look around and see what the village is like. Now, I can't believe this. I think this is absolutely fantastic. Now, one thing is now, of course, I could describe my village to the rest of the class or to my group, or the group of students could now guess, what did I ask for? What things did I ask for in my picture? Okay, and you can see here we've got everything that basically we've asked for, including the church, the castle, didn't add a clock by looks of things, but you get the idea. So I could see a lot of potential for, first of all, the writing activity to produce the language to get the picture, and then the students afterwards describing the picture that they have produced, or other students guessing what instructions they gave to produce the picture.
Love that one. Okay. I'll tell you some good news. There are so many AI technologies coming out. There aren't that many that are super useful to us yet, all right? But those ones that I've showed you today are certainly the most popular. And other ones that are coming along that we've already tested are Jenny AI, Ago, quizzes.com. You probably know quizzes.com. It's very similar to Kahoot. Forget Kahoot. Go to quizzes.com. The AI technology is unbelievable. You get way more for free. We've been testing Canva. Has a very difficult interface to work with, but so useful for teachers making presentations, making images, etc. These are the technologies we're working on. And, you know, if you follow me on YouTube or if you sign up to the newsletter on my website, I make videos every week where I update you and tell you the latest videos that we've tried and the latest technologies that we've tested. And obviously, we only suggest to you things that we think, yeah, they've worked really well, and that is completely free, that newsletter, okay? I hope you got a few ideas from today. So I've got a handout for you guys. And in that handout, there is a video showing you how to use ChatGPT. There's a video showing you how to use natural readers. There's a video showing you how to use Kansai.app, it's called. And there's a video showing you how to use twee.com. And there's also a video to show you to use Storyblocks. If you want that handout, there are no tricks. I'm not going to harass you or take your data. It's just going to come straight back to you. It's on an automated system. You just email. This is not my email. This is an automated system, all right? You just email russellhandout@gmail.com. The subject, please, OUP. And a big thank you to Oxford University Press for sponsoring this talk today. As you can see, it wasn't a commercial talk. We were looking at AI technology. So a big thank you to OUP for sponsoring it. And automatically, I will send you back a handout. It will all be automated. And in that handout, there are videos to show you all of the technologies. And if you want to sign up to the newsletter and keep up to date, you can. I'm not going to start harassing you for money. I make my money in a completely different way. This is just to try to keep you informed if you want to keep up with it. Guys, AI, I hope that was interesting. Thank you very much.